In the heart of the city, beneath the gleaming skyscrapers and bustling streets, there lies a story often unheard. The story of the black community's struggle against the shadows of oppression. For generations, their voices were silenced, their rights diminished, their dreams deferred. From segregated schools to discriminatory laws, the chains of inequality were woven tightly. They faced barriers not just in courts or workplaces, but in everyday life. In neighborhoods divided by color lines, in job opportunities denied before even spoken for, in the constant fear of being judged not by character, but by skin. Yet amid the pain and injustice, there was resilience. Families held tight to hope. Communities found strength in unity. Activists rose with courage, speaking truths that many wanted to ignore. But the fight was far from over. The scars of history lingered, hidden beneath polite smiles and empty promises. The struggle for equality was a long road, paved with tears, marches, and voices demanding to be heard. This is not just a story of pain, but of perseverance, a reminder that even in the darkest shadows, light can break through. The weight of history pressed heavily on the shoulders of every black child growing up in neighborhoods forgotten by many. Schools were underfunded, resources scarce, and opportunities few. Yet despite these walls built to contain them, their spirits refused to be confined. Mothers whispered stories of courage to their children, stories of those who walked before them, who marched, who spoke out, who dared to dream of a better world. Fathers labored hard, sometimes 2 jobs, to give their families a chance to break the cycle. But the injustice was not only in poverty or lack of resources, it was in the unjust arrests, the casual brutality, the silence of systems meant to protect. Every headline told another story of a life cut short, a promise unfulfilled. Still the community held on. Art, music, and culture became vessels of expression and resistance. Churches and gathering places turned into hubs of hope and planning. Each step forward was a victory carved from pain. The struggle was far from over, but with every voice raised, every hand joined, the shadows grew thinner. The fight for justice was a flame that refused to be extinguished. But the path to justice was never straight or smooth. The black community faced constant setbacks. Laws changed, but attitudes lingered. Progress was often met with resistance, sometimes violent, sometimes subtle, but always persistent. There were nights when fear crept into homes, when sirens pierced the air, and families held their breath, hoping their loved ones would return safe. Innocent lives were questioned, blamed, or dismissed, their humanity stripped away by prejudice. Schools taught a history rewritten to erase contributions and struggles. Jobs were often out of reach, locked behind invisible doors. Healthcare disparities meant many faced illness without proper care. Every part of life was touched by the unequal hand of discrimination. Yet amid these harsh realities, the black community cultivated joy through music, dance, laughter, and love. Festivals celebrated culture and history. Neighborhoods became places of warmth and resilience, where elders passed down wisdom and children learned to dream again. Every act of kindness, every moment of solidarity was a thread in a fabric strong enough to withstand the storms. The fight for equality was more than a battle. It was a testament to the enduring spirit of a people who refused to be erased. The streets echoed with the sounds of protests, chants for justice, calls for change. Young and old stood side by side, united by a common dream, to be seen as equals, to live without fear, to have a future free from the chains of racism. Social media amplified their voices, sharing stories that could no longer be ignored. Videos of injustice sparked global outrage, forcing society to confront uncomfortable truths. Allies emerged, standing shoulder to shoulder, acknowledging the pain and pledging support. Yet the road was still full of obstacles. Old systems fought to maintain power, pushing back against reforms. Economic disparities deepened, and access to education and health care remained uneven. Still, hope burned brightly. New generations learned from the past, but refused to be bound by it. They marched, they voted, they created. They told their stories in books, films, and music, shaping culture and minds alike. The fight for equality was ongoing. A long march toward a horizon where every person's dignity would be respected, no matter the color of their skin. In the quiet moments, beyond the marches and speeches, there were personal stories. Stories of loss and love, of fear and hope intertwined. A mother comforting her son after a harsh encounter with the police. A teacher encouraging a student to dream bigger, despite the world trying to tell him otherwise. Friends gathering to heal from wounds invisible to outsiders. These stories, though small, carried the weight of generations. They were acts of resistance, proof that humanity could not be erased by hatred or fear. They taught patience, perseverance, and the power of community. Change was slow, but it was happening. Laws were being rewritten. Schools began to include the true history of their people. Conversations once forbidden now filled classrooms and living rooms. Bridges were built between communities, fostering understanding and respect. Yet the struggle remained real. Every victory was met with new challenges, reminding the world that equality was not a destination but a journey, one that required constant vigilance and courage. But in every face, in every voice raised, in every hand held tightly, there was a promise that the shadows of silence would one day be replaced by the light of justice and equality for all. Among those who stood strong were the youth, a generation refusing to accept the world as it was. They organized, they spoke out, and they used every tool at their disposal. From protests in the streets to viral campaigns online, their energy was unstoppable, a force demanding change not tomorrow, but today. Yet this energy was met with resistance. Some saw their calls as threats, others dismissed them as noise. But the youth knew their history. They knew the sacrifices made by those before them. They carried the legacy of courage, from the civil rights movement to Black Lives Matter, and pushed forward with unwavering determination. In schools, they challenged textbooks that glossed over truth. In art, they told stories that had long been silenced. In communities, they built spaces of healing and growth. And in every conversation, they insisted on respect, justice, and equality. The fight was still uphill, but every voice raised was a step forward. Every protest, every speech, every act of solidarity chipped away at the walls of injustice. And slowly, the world began to listen. In the heart of the community lived stories of resilience, ordinary people doing extraordinary things. Like James, a school teacher who stayed late every day to tutor students overlooked by the system. Or Aisha, a single mother who fought tirelessly to provide a safe home and a brighter future for her children. Their lives were testimonies of quiet strength, often unseen but deeply felt. They faced challenges that tested their faith and resolve, yet never gave up. Every small victory, a student graduating, a child's smile, a family's safety, was a beacon of hope in the darkness. These stories built a foundation for change, reminding everyone that progress is not only made in headlines, but in everyday acts of courage and love. The community's heartbeat was in these moments, in the shared meals, the late-night talks, the collective prayers. Though the journey was long, each step forward was a tribute to those who came before and a promise to those yet to come. And so, the story continues. Not with an end, but with a beginning where the scars of the past serve as reminders, not chains, where voices once silenced now rise in harmony, where justice is not a distant dream but a shared reality. The struggle for equality remains, but so does the hope. It lives in every child who dares to dream beyond the limits set by history. It breathes in every act of kindness, every moment of understanding, every step taken together. The road ahead is still long, and the shadows of injustice may still linger, but the light of resilience, courage, and unity shines brighter than ever before. Because the true power of this story is not in the pain endured, but in the strength found, in the unbreakable spirit of a people who refuse to be forgotten. And this spirit will carry them forward toward a future where freedom, dignity, and equality are not privileges, but rights for all.